Hey, Egg Teacher Thoughts here, coming at you with another video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about care and feeding and troubleshooting of your Firefly petunia. Or you could use this same thing for the troubleshooting of any of your petunias. So I've spent a little time on the Light Bio Facebook page because I've been really curious as far as what people's experiences were when they purchased a Firefly petunia. So those of you that don't know, this isn't a standard white petunia. This petunia actually glows in the dark. So when well cared for and well fertilized and kept out in the bright sunshine, when you bring that plant in at night, this plant will actually glow in the dark. So now that you know a little bit of what a Firefly petunia is, let me give you a little bit of advice on how to care for your Firefly petunia and troubleshoot any of the issues that you may have. So that you know a little bit of my background, I have been a nurseryman my entire life, and I'm also currently an agriculture teacher at a local high school. So I've actually been working with and raising petunias pretty much my entire life. So if you wanted to qualify it, I've got about 40 years of experience working with petunias. So this advice that I give you is truly ripened with wisdom. If you know FFA, you know where that's come from. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some key things to troubleshoot. Now, one of the first problems that I see when people get Firefly petunias is, come on Light Bio, your quality plants that you're shipping out. Let me rephrase that. You're not shipping out quality plants. So a lot of people get a plant and it's quite scrawny, it's got one branch, it's yellowed, there's a lot of damage around the ends of the leaves where it's been dried out, and they generally just come in bedraggled condition. They look horrible. As a commercial grower, I would never sell something like that to my customer. I would throw it in the rubbish bin. However, being that this company is relatively new to producing plants for the public, I'm going to give them a little bit of a break, but I really wish that they would reach out so that I can assist them and help correct their issues that they're currently having. So when you get your petunia, I've seen them come in one of three conditions. One, it's okay. The soil moisture is fine, the plant condition's fine, it looks okay. It looks like it's going to survive. You can transplant it to another pot, water it, fertilize it, it's going to be okay. Condition two, it comes in a pot that is absolutely saturated with water to the point where you could wring the water out of the soil. And with that condition, a lot of those plants that are arriving, if you don't remove the pot from the soil root ball, the plant's actually going to die from what's called root rot or Fusarium root rot, where the roots don't get enough oxygen and they actually start to decay. The best fix that I can suggest for that is to take your Firefly petunia actually out of the pot and set it on a plate and allow the air in your home to circulate around that soil and actually remove some of that moisture. Now, don't let it completely dry out, because in that condition it's probably going to wilt. Although petunias are pretty hardy, and if they've given time to get to a wilted condition, will generally survive it. Condition three that I see them arrive is that soil root ball has completely dried out, and the plant does arrive to the point where some of the tissue has died, and a lot of those petunias really struggle to survive. So if you do receive one that is completely dried out, take that pot and don't add water to the top. Instead take that pot and set it in a bowl or a container of water and allow the water to absorb up through the bottom of the pot. Now, don't store it overnight. It only needs to be there for about 30 minutes and it'll absorb enough water to be able to survive. Now, once you've got the plant from its shipping condition into the point where it's gonna make it, there's a few other care things that you need to do with Firefly petunias. One of those is transplant it. Get it into a larger container. These plants need to have more volume of soil to allow them to manage the highs and lows of the humidity changes throughout the day. So with mine, I planted it up into what's called a gallon nursery container. So it went from that small 4-inch round pot into a 1-gallon container. And I used a brand new potting soil. Now with those, I don't recommend any potting soils that have mulch in them. You want it all to be virgin or brand new material. So something that's using fresh bark and fresh peat moss. That's going to give your plant the best chance to survive. And the fungal load in that soil mix is going to be much, much lower as compared to something that is going to be mulched, where it's processed simply through the bacteria and the fungus that are living in that soil. So a fresh potting media is what I would recommend. The next step with that is you need to transition your plant to an outdoor life. Yes, I know Light Bio says that you can store your petunias indoors in a bright window. That is not correct. If we were looking at the amount of light that actually comes through a window of an average house, even if we were looking at a south-facing window on a bright, clear, sunny day, the amount of light coming through those windows is just an absolute fraction of the amount of light that this petunia is currently receiving right now. So in your average household window, southern facing, bright sunny day, you might be getting between 500 and 750 foot candles of light. Although on a day like this, it's a little overcast here, we're probably around 3,000, 3,500 foot candles, maybe even more. If you are on a clear, unobstructed, sunny day, in the middle of summer, outside you're going to be getting about 5,000 foot candles of light. So they need a lot more light than what you're actually getting in your home. So put them in a container that you can take outside. That's one of the reasons why I recommend a gallon pot. It's not ceramic, so if I drop it, it's not going to break. It's got a large enough soil volume, so if I water my plant in the morning and I come back in the afternoon, it still has enough moisture in that pot to survive. And the other thing about the Firefly petunia is put them out in the morning, bring them in at night, or if you have times where you don't want to bring them in, let them stay outside all night. It's okay. So let's talk about a few other things that people are having issues with their petunias. One of them I commonly see is, my petunia isn't glowing. Well, there's a few things that could be going on there. One, there is a far chance that it could be one of the cuttings where that genetic material has actually been lost. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I do see Light Bio asking people to directly message them, so that is a possibility that that could have occurred. The next thing is if it's not glowing, it's probably not healthy. So like I said, these petunias need to be outside during the daylight in bright light. And just like you and I, they also need to eat. Most of us would survive, a few weeks if we were only drinking water. But sooner or later, we're going to need to eat something of substance. And that's where we come in and we feed them mineral salts. So this is a soluble fertilizer. This is designed to be added to water, and it provides all of the nutrients and minerals that this plant needs to survive. So with this one, this is actually a different formulation than the one I recommend. But for petunias, what I recommend is Jack's Classic Petunia Feed. And I believe that formula is 2622. Let me see if I have got that right. Yep, 2622. And it's Jack's Classic Petunia Feed. Now, you'll know you've got the correct one if it says Jack's Classics, but also on feed, it's capital F, lowercase e, capital E, capital D. So they've got a funny spelling of feed in there. And the FE, if you look at that, what it means is it actually provides iron to our plant, which is going to help with the color. So with this, I do recommend using Jack's Classic Petunia Feed, and you're going to add, according to the label, it's 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. With our standard watering can here, it holds about 2 gallons. So it's actually going to get 2 scoops of level tablespoons in our container. Okay, and this is a very soluble fertilizer, so it actually mixes up quite well. And then we're going to go ahead and fill this back up to the top with our 2 gallons, And then when we're done, we're going to go ahead and add that to our container. And we're going to add enough fertilizer water to the point where it actually physically runs out of the bottom of the pot. Now that's very important to have that step so that the salts don't actually build up in the soil and then become toxic to the plant. So those of you that have decided to store this plant in your home, understand you should be watering this in your kitchen sink and allowing the water to flow all the way through the pot, and give it about an hour for that to trickle out. Don't simply place that in a dish or container and water it and allow that water to build up on the bottom. If you do that, you're going to have Fusarium root rot set in. So definitely water and fertilize these plants. And as far as the frequency, to get the vibrant or the prolific blossoms and the nice deep green color that we appreciate in petunias, you are going to need to fertilize them 2 to 3 times a week. However, as your plant is starting out, if it's still struggling from its shipping condition, go ahead and fertilize it every single time you water. But again, make sure that that fertilizer water has the ability to run free from the pot and not pond up on the bottom. The next thing that I have shown a couple of videos about is with your petunia, yes, they are free flowering, but one of the things that I have discovered is that they will, in fact, set seed. Now, no, I'm not harvesting the seed. I'm not collecting it, trying to grow these from seed. But the reason I go through and I remove my seed heads from my plant is when a seed forms in a plant, it produces a hormone that says, hey, we've done our job, we've set seed, you can go ahead and stop flowering for now. And that'll actually cause the flowering of the plant to settle down or slow down. It'll still put up the occasional blossom, but it won't be quite as prolific as you see here on this Firefly petunia. One of the other comments I get about, or I've seen about Firefly petunias is, my petunia is not really glowing. And I think part of that is because people are expecting a Firefly petunia to look a lot like a standard green glow stick, which they don't. Firefly petunias are not bright. They're actually fairly dim on their glow, and if you have them outside in your garden and there's any sort of ambient light, that light will actually drown out the light that's coming off from the petunia itself. So what I recommend is definitely have them in a container and bring them inside to a completely dark room. Not one that's just kind of dark, but I mean a completely dark room. Then I want you to sit in there with your petunia for about 5 minutes. You can either stare at your petunia or just sit with your eyes closed. Careful not to fall asleep or you might miss out. But be in a completely dark room, and after about 5 minutes, you're going to notice when you look at your petunia that you can see all of the blossoms glowing. Now, the newer foliage or the newer parts of the plant, like this bud here, will actually glow the brightest. So they're going to be the bright spots when you look at them. But actually, nearly the entire plant itself does actually glow, except a few parts. So if you see my other video, you'll find out that the stamen and filament actually don't glow. But in the blossom, the pistil does glow. Sprinklers came on. So you'll notice that there are a few parts that don't glow. So the stamen and the filament, the male reproductive parts of the petunia blossom actually don't glow, but the female reproductive parts do. So the interior of the ovary, the sepals on the outside of the blossom, the petals and the pistil do glow, but the anther and the stamen do not. So yeah, put that in a completely dark room and you will see that it glows. Now my petunia here, this is what happens when you grow petunias your entire life and you really know how to make them thrive. My petunia, when I bring it in at night, sometimes I take it into my bedroom. It's something to look at as I fall asleep. It produces about the same amount of light as my digital alarm clock. So when they get larger, they're almost annoyingly bright in a dark room. But anyway, that's a couple of pieces of advice as far as the Firefly petunias. If you do have any questions about them on care or feeding, definitely go ahead and follow the links that I have on my page about petunia proper care and feeding. I go into other things, and really when you look at those, this is just a standard petunia as far as care needs. There's nothing special just simply because it's bioengineered. So all of the other petunia recommendations that I have will carry true through this petunia itself. As far as fertilizer, light, pests, all of that is the same. So I hope you've got some of your questions answered. If you're still a little shady on what you might need, go ahead and reach out to me and I will respond in the comments about other proper care and feeding of Firefly petunias. So anyway, I hope you learned something today. Ag Teacher Thoughts out.